Dr. Cordolino? Here. Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Mrs. Fano? Here. Dr. Modrak?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Here. Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Grau?
Here.
Mr. Arena?
Here.
Mr. Is it Waziski?
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on June 23rd, 2020.
Thank you very much, Jim. We're very happy to introduce our two high school representatives here tonight. We have Dan Arena. Raise your hand, Dan, so they know who you are. And Felipe Steski. I did a better job than her, didn't I? Welcome, guys. It's a pleasure. I was talking to Daniel before the meeting, and some of you might remember we had his older brother here as a rep several years ago, CJ. But the thing with Dan that really upset me is that he has a golf shirt on, and I asked him what his handicap was. For those of you that play golf, he's a 3 handicap. 3 handicap is pretty darn good. So, and Dan has offered to take anybody that wants to for a round of golf because he's so good. But seriously, guys, thank you so much. Whichever one of you would like to start with your report, feel free to do so.
So I'll start with the sports update. So the football team improved their record to 2-0 after a dominant 45-7 victory over Par Hills last Friday. The team was led by senior quarterback Tristan Perez, who threw for 132 yards and a touchdown while adding 110 yards on the ground and 3 scores. There have been great turnouts in the student section for both away games to start the season. Everyone's excited to support the team and the cheerleaders. And their next game will be their home opener this Friday under the lights at 7 p.m. versus Roxbury. The boys soccer team has also jumped out to a hot start, as they are now 2-0 after their recent 2-0 victory over Morristown. Ian Kaiser has led the scoring for the Mustangs in the first 2 games, and the boys will look to continue their success with a trip out to Chatham this Wednesday. The girls soccer team will host their first home game this Wednesday at 4 after a road trip to open the season. Senior captains Bella Rudachowski, Alex Quinn, and Ashley Campbell will look to right the ship in front of the home crowd. The girls tennis team picked up a big 5-0 win yesterday, led by captains Caitlin Rossnow and Ashani Patel, and they will travel to Mendham next for a match on Friday. The field hockey team continued a strong start after a 7-0 rout with Pope John yesterday. Senior captain Gina Murata led the scoring. And get your coffee ready for a 10 a.m. bout with Morris Knowles this Saturday, as the girls will look to pick up another win. The volleyball team has split 1 and 2 for their first 3 matches of the season. The team led by captains Sofia Fernandez, Eliana Rothenbuehler, and Sam Kieser will hike to Chatham on Friday for a 4 p.m. match next. And finally, the cross-country team, led by captains Robert George, Annie Glogorski, and Adit Teraponti for the boys, and Maya Ganguly and Hannah Vidovich for the girls. They'll travel to Garrett Mountain next for a meet on Saturday morning. And then, shifting away from sports, as SAC president, I have been given the opportunity to deliver the morning announcements every day. On the first day of school, I delivered a message about how we've been going to school virtually for the past year and been held back from sporting events and other things due to the pandemic. But this year, with restrictions being lifted and the student body back in the building, I've decided to and every morning announcement with one phrase, run wild. In past years, you may have seen phrases like Mustang Pride, Roll Stangs, and others, but this year the motto will be run wild. Mustangs are naturally wild animals, and this is not to encourage craziness, but to encourage the idea that this year we have opportunities to be together, not just in school, but supporting our students outside of school in countless events, and we should seize the opportunity, enjoy those moments, and thus run wild. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Moving on from sports, I'd like to go into some past news. These
Bullshit.
Is that good? Yeah, there we go. Moving on from sports, I'd like to go on some past news during these first few days of school. I'd like to call the first few days of school nothing but a success for the student body. The hallways and classroom dynamics are for sure lively once again, and I think we are all happy to have everyone back together in the same building. Based on observation, not only are the freshmen adjusting well, but so are the sophomores and other students who shockingly haven't entered our high school for the first time. But I'd say overall 10 out of 10 for the first few days of school. Then also last night at 7 p.m., seniors and their parents were given the opportunity to attend a virtual senior parent/guardian night, which offered a presentation and chance to speak with Ms. Garcia regarding the upcoming college application process. During this, she covered the various components of applying to schools, such as the different types of applications, the essay and supplements, transcript requests, letters of recommendation, financial aid, scholarships, and plenty more. And I think it was really beneficial for seniors to kind of refresh on that upcoming application process. Then looking into the future, this Thursday, the schools will close for the observance of Yom Kippur. And then next week, we'll bring tons of excitement as we kick off our Fall Spirit Week. For Spirit Week, the days goes as follows. We have Pajama Day, then USA Day, Age Day, which is a newer one in which juniors and seniors dress as senior citizens, and then we'll have freshmen and sophomores dress as toddlers. And then Thursday will be Montville Day, and then the Color War as usual on Friday with the early dismissal and pep rally, which will be really exciting. At the pep rally, we'll have the traditional activities such as the water balloon toss, horse race, and tug of war. Not to forget, with the pep rally comes the Friday night football game where we'll black out the stands by dressing in all black. During that Spirit Week, we also have Back to School Night for Parents, which is held on Thursday the 23rd. That Thursday is also the Club Fair, an event in which the school's clubs set up stands in the main rotunda or main gym during lunch to promote their groups. As someone a part of many extracurriculars, I always look forward to the Club Fair, and I think I always end up signing up for way too many clubs at the same time. I'm mostly excited for some of the newer clubs, such as HOSA and Relay for Life, to be making actual physical appearances this year.
Thank you so much. Please, what are you, an officer now? What is your title?
For student council,
Yeah.
I'm the student body president.
And what do you do?
Student activity council.
Very good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Do we have any questions? Not let them off too easy, huh? Seriously, thank you so much. Feel free to leave if you'd like, or feel free to stay here. That's up to you. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report, section F.
We did have a very wonderful opening to the school year last week. It was wonderful. I had the opportunity to visit all 7 schools last Thursday and see the students back in the buildings. It was a very uplifting experience, not only for me, but even just seeing the teachers and the administrators and even the students themselves. It was a great day. Particularly, I'd like to thank Mrs. Slunt, Mr. Toth, our school facilities manager, for their extraordinary efforts and working together with our contractors to get Cedar Hill back in shape to open for in-person instruction on Thursday after we had the water damage in August. That was a tremendous amount of effort and coordination to get that done, and I'm very appreciative of all of their efforts. As our students mentioned, next week we will have back to school night at all 3 levels. Elementary is Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening is middle school, and Thursday evening is the high school. Those events again are being held virtually this year, just to be able to minimize the crowd control issues that we would have if we invited all the parents into the building. I do encourage parents to participate in those activities. There's a lot of great information that is shared by the teachers that will inform you about a lot of activities, the procedures that will take place in the classes over the course of the year. The teachers do a phenomenal job. I did also want to add Friday night for our first home football game, in addition to the team obviously playing and the cheerleaders cheering them on, we will have our first home performance by the band also at that game. And they've been working very hard since the summertime, so I encourage everyone to come out and watch them perform as well. That concludes my report.
Yes, and thank you, Katrina. On behalf of the board, I would also like to thank the administration, Mrs. Slunt and Dr. Rotar, for the work they did, especially in the last 2 weeks after we had the flood damage. It was amazing we were able to get those schools open on time, and I would like to thank both of them along with the facilities manager. I know the parents were happy to Cedar Hill to be able to get in here rather than go virtual for a few days. Also, under the good news, as you see, that our IT person, Austin Thomas, has received an award, which is quite outstanding, and it's very there for you to read. I'd also like to thank Mark Weber. Mark is the IT person who takes care of our meetings by putting them on YouTube. And Mark was at the 20-year 9/11 celebration on Saturday, and he did a fine job there with the sound system, and I thank you for that very much, Mark. Okay, Renee? Anything else, or business administrators? Jane, anything at this time?
No, nothing at this time.
Mrs. Slunt will be at one of the future meetings going through everything with regard to what we've done with the buildings, so all of you can be aware of it. Just to remind everybody, if you've come in late, you have to be wearing a mask, so please put one on if you have one. We are under the law to do that, so please do that. If you don't have a mask, ask one of the policemen, they might be able to help you. Committee reports, please. First one would be the Finance and Facilities parent.
No report at this time, Mr. Grau. We will meet prior to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Curriculum and instruction, David?
Yeah, so we met recently. We talked about a number of things. We covered the changes and additions to the school schedules that were required. Because as we head into this school year, we always have a few additions or dropouts from some of the classes. This required us to add a couple of, I believe, kindergarten, first grade classes, Cedar Hill and William Mason. Our current enrollment stands at 3,514 students for the entire district. That includes all grades as well as VOTEC and out of district. We talked about the skill building summer camp for the basic skills students, grades 1 through 4. They attended. It was considered a success at the time, and we're going to keep monitoring these students to make sure that they actually are able to retain a lot of what they were taught. We talked about the Start Strong assessment dates. Dr. Rotar, are you going to mention that more later or not?
I did send out a communication to parents, I believe it was last Friday, with regard to the Start Strong assessment. We will be administering that in early October.
Okay. There we go. We are fortunate enough that all of our students have Chromebooks, which is very nice that we were able to do that. And that initiative started a few years ago. We talked about professional development, including some classes on suicide prevention training, as well as sport and performance psychology, as well as a few other classes that might be of value to our teaching staff. And then we also talked about the curriculum updates, microbiology, public speaking 1, public speaking 2, and those are on the agenda.
Thank you, David. Policy and personnel, Sam?
No. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Our committee met yesterday afternoon. The Policy and Personnel Committee met, and we reviewed a number of policy and regulation updates and a number of new policies. We discussed the abolishment of some outdated and/or expiring policies and regulations. A few policies and regulations of note that were reviewed and approved by the committee included Policy 2422, which is comprehensive health and physical education. Policy 2467, surrogate and resource family parents. Policy 5116, education of homeless children. And Policy 8420, emergency and crisis situations. Also, some policies have expired and will be abolished, including Policy 1648, Restart and Recovery Plan, Policy 164802, Remote Learning Options for Families, and Policy 164303, Restart and Recovery Plan, Full-Time Remote Instruction. All of the policies and regulations approved by the committee will appear on the September 28th Board of Ed agenda for first reading.
Thank you. Communications, Michelle?
No report tonight?
Safety and security, Mike Rappaport?
No report.
Delegate, New Jersey School Boards, Karen?
Thank you, Charlie. So this week, the Executive Committee of New Jersey School Boards Association met. It's the first time meeting since the end of school last spring. Just some highlights. New Jersey School Boards, I believe, published today via email a fifth in a series of white papers that they've produced regarding the pandemic. All of them can be found online. This one is called Rebuilding Opportunities for Students and Post-Pandemic. Leadership of NJSBA, the Executive Director and President, had a meeting with Senate President Sweeney and Chair of Education, Senator Ruiz, to really talk to them about some of the things that school districts are facing pre- and post-pandemic. It was a fruitful meeting. Just as a note, as we begin our county meetings again, some of them will be hybrid, so you can attend either in person or virtually. And workshop this year, workshop 2021, as we all know, will be virtual this year like it was last year. There was great hope that workshop could be in person this year. Anyone who has been to workshop understands that it's a great opportunity for networking and camaraderie. But unfortunately, the pandemic has kept us from conducting that workshop in person. It will be virtual again. On Saturday, the Legislative Committee, which I chair, will be meeting. We'll have a member of the Department of Education there, and October 1st, the Board of Directors will be meeting.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Morris County School Boards, Mike O'Brien?
No report.
No report. Educational Services, Mr. Rappaport?
They did meet last Wednesday. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend. I'll catch up the board at a next.
Thank you. Drug awareness, Mr. Palmer?
No report.
Montville Athletic Boosters, Mr. O'Brien?
Coincidentally, boosters changed. They changed the meeting date. The first meeting of this year was while we were in closed session. I have been in communication. I don't know whether they are going to have their meeting coinciding with
When you
board
find
meeting.
out, let us know.
I don't know why that changed. So I was in by location is difficult.
Thank you, Mike. Liaisons, I know the schools have just started. Cedar Hill?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the Cedar Hill Home School had their first HSA meeting of the year on September 1st, and they covered a variety of items. Dr. Ross answered a lot of questions regarding a variety of school procedures. The parents were very happy, Dr. Rotar, that the children will be allowed to move around somewhat. Parents were happy that hot lunch was back. Talked a little bit about back to school night. Scholastic Outdoor Book Fair will return this year. It'll be in an outdoor setting. School pictures will be inside, and the parents were happy about that. And the very large event that Cedar Hill will be hosting on October 28th is their Moonlight Masquerade. It's a tricky tray. Tickets are on sale now, and I'm sure it'll be a beautiful event.
Thank you, Karen. Jill, they don't have any Valley View, Joe?
They had their first meeting tonight. I was unable to attend due to the board meeting tonight.
Mason?
No report, Charlie.
Woodmont?
No report.
Lazar?
No report.
Michelle? No. High school? Michelle or Michael Brown?
The PTC will have their first meeting on Monday, the 27th. They're also doing a welcome back grab-and-go breakfast for the teachers and staff on the 23rd, and an email went out to parents today to sign up for donations. And as well, on the PTC website, you can get information about joining, becoming a member of the PTC, or purchasing Montville Spiritware.
Thank you very much, Michelle. The last group that we haven't finished negotiations with is the Montville Township administrators. We're still negotiating with them over the development of a salary guide. Public participation is an opportunity if any member of the public has a question, comment on anything on the agenda. It's the opportunity to ask that. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting to hear your comments on any other items. Any questions on the agenda from the public? I would entertain a motion on items J through M. By someone, please.
So moved.
Excuse me, I through M. I made a mistake. I through M.
So moved.
By Mr. O'Brien, seconded by.
So moved.
Got it, King? Any questions on I? J? K? L? M? There's no policies, as it was pointed out, they'll be on the 28th meeting. Roll call vote, Mrs. Swan, please.
Mr. O'Brien?
Aye.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes.
Mrs. Spano? Yes. Dr. Modrak?
Abstaining on the minutes for August 17th, yes to everything else.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman? Also abstain, August 17 minutes from section I, yes to everything else. Mr. Palma?
Abstain on the September 2nd special meeting minutes, yes on everything else.
Mr. Grau?
Yes. There's no need to go into closed session tonight. Any old business, section Q, from the board? Any section R, general board comments and new business?
Charlie, just a quick comment on the 9/11 memorial service that was hosted by the VFW. I know some of us were there. You were, Christine, I was there, Mike Ryan was there. It was an extraordinarily moving ceremony, and while painful, I'm sure, it was very well done, and it was nice to take a moment to reflect on that particular day and that the tragedy that occurred. So just thank you to the VFW for hosting it.
Thank you, Karen. I know that we had a pretty good representation. We had 4 of us there. Karen, Mike O'Brien, Christine Fannell, and myself. And it was a very moving dedication. Speakers were outstanding. And I think the VFW, as they always, they did a wonderful job. And if you have a chance to see any of the VFW, thank them, not just for their service, but what they're doing for Montville. Anything else from the board? Section S is public participation. It's an opportunity for members of the public and board to give your comments on anything. At the last meeting, it was not a very positive meeting for everyone concerned, and I think that this meeting will be a lot better because we all should have respect for each other. If you have a comment, please feel free to come up. We'll give you maximum time. Keep in mind that we're going to limit it to an hour, and if you have any comments, this is the opportunity. Please give us your name and your address, if you don't mind. Okay? Now entertain if anyone would like to come forward. Please step up to the podium. If no one wants to come forward, I'll now entertain.
Hi, I'm Kate Trina of 84 River Road.
Say again.
Kate Trina, 84 River Road. So I'll start off by apologizing for my tone, but I'm just frustrated and upset. But I just like to read the statement that I prepared. This board has made it clear time and time again that no matter what the community wants or what the data shows, they will not stand up for the rights of the children or staff of this district. They continue to defy their elected role of representing the community and ensuring the best education for our children, and claim that their hands are tied by illegal mandates. As discouraging as that statement is, it's not even the worst of it. When Executive Order 175 expired in the beginning of the summer, giving each district the power to make their own decisions regarding mask policies, this board did nothing, in spite of the overwhelming community opinion to make masking optional. Then when Executive Order 251 went into effect requiring masks, but allowing for exemptions, the board refused to work with parents of children who fit those exemptions and chose to interpret the order in the absolute strictest sense possible. And then when Executive Order 253 further required doctor's notes for exemption, the board added a requirement for review by the school physician and are using that to override and deny the child's own doctor's evaluation. Whatever this board may say about caring for our children, their actions prove otherwise. There are individuals everywhere willing to lose their jobs, their health care, their businesses, participation in society in general, because that is how much they care about our right to liberty as Americans. I don't care what financial or legal consequences you might personally face by defying the mandates. If you are too afraid to bear the consequences of doing the right thing for these children, then get off the board, because there are parents like myself ready and willing to step in and do just that. And if all of that is just too much for you, then please, as a bare minimum, vocally oppose the mandates. Work with the parents to get exceptions where they are needed. Be generous with mask breaks. Do everything you possibly can to show that you hear us and understand and not just care about protecting yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. You made some comments. In the dialogue, your interpretation of the law is a little different than what our attorney has ruled for us, and that's what we're following, but thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hi, Jennifer Bain. I have 3 children at Cedar Hill, including kindergartner. I just want to say thank you to whoever made everything happen to getting the kids back to Cedar Hill, especially my kindergartner was really, really excited to go back. So thank you, because I know it involved a lot. We actually stopped by on Labor Day, and there were a lot of workers out there. Thank you. And I also, as a physician parent, I just want to say thank you for looking at our community and looking more broadly at the United States, as the situation is very different in New Jersey and in Montville. We don't want to end up like other states that are going through a really difficult time right now. So thank you for looking at the science. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. I think the 2 administrators that we thanked before, I think they deserve most of the credit, all of the credit, for getting that school open on time along with their team. And thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Test. Good evening, Mark Mansour, 13 Hollister Road, Tuaco. Thank you for having us all tonight, and thank you for, getting the school year off to the start for the kids. I know everybody in the room appreciates that. I wanted to ask something a little bit different tonight, and it's just with my career, I've been in special ed for 16 years, and I was wondering, after looking at things like the school budget, things of that nature from the last budget Dr. Rothar put out from the, I think it was the 2020-2021 school year. Well, when I was looking at the out-of-district portion of that, I just wanted to kind of make like a general comment about that. I saw that alone was 10% of the budget. It was of the instructional budget, I should say, at $4.1 million. And there was, I think it was anticipated to be 42 students who are out of district. And as someone who's, works in special ed, who's, worked with students at out-of-district schools, helped place students in out-of-district schools and change it, I was just wondering if the district had any, the district would possibly think about, how do I want to say this? The district would think about creating programs, different programs, special ed programs in-house to be able to get some of those students back into the district, into their community school to help feel connected to that. Because I know that is, a big thing for some of the parents in town, that their children who is, maybe going up to, the Shepherd School in Kinnelon or wherever. I know we have students at the Caldwell University program they have, and tons of other schools. And if that was something that the district would ever be willing to look into, because of the fact that I know it's a big upfront cost, but at the end of the day, that helps to, eventually alleviate some of the outside costs of sending the kids there after that initial cost to get the program in place. And then you can start taking some kids from other districts and charging the tuition rate there to help, offset some of those costs. And I just know that through some of my experiences with that, it really helps to keep, those parents who have the students out of district engaged with the schools, to really give them that sense of community together. And one other thing, in addition to that, was just curious if, I know you can't give me an answer back, so kind of speaking just to speak. Excuse me, where was my spot here? Sorry, an alert came up on my phone cover. There we go. I was wondering if the district, with the special ed department, if you guys, if the director of special ed, I think it's Miss Stryker, or if it's Dr. Stryker, I apologize, I'm not sure if it's a doctor or miss. They kind of like audit the results of the IEP progress reports to see if those placements are the correct ones, because I know through my experience, I can talk about a student that we had go into a different school, went there to observe them, and it was definitely the wrong fit for them. So we helped to place that student in a different school, and they were, they flourished. And so I was just, those were two things that kind of stuck in my head. I know we usually come here and talk about different things, but the special education piece is something that's near and dear to me, being in special education for 16 years. So I just thought that might be something that the district may want to, eventually look into, is creating more programs, whether it be an ED, LLD. I know we have, some of these programs already, but developing them so more students can be a part of it. And, I know special education is kind of, ever-changing wherever we go, depending on the needs of students. So I just wanted to ensure we're able to provide each student with the best chance for success.
Hey, Commissioner Montier. Usually this is your comment, but this is something that we do every year. We look at, and if you looked at the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 budgets since Dr. Rothar was here, we have created more classes, we brought youngsters back in. So it is a goal and we stick into it. And I think with our new director, who isn't Dr. Stryker, she, I believe, is retiring in December, is she not? I believe she's retiring. We hired a new director, and I'm sure this is one of the charges that was given to her by the administration also. But thank you for your comment.
Hi, John Fazio, 7 Walnut Drive, Farnborough. So I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight. First, I saw the superintendent's email today about the not participating in the National School Lunch Program. and I actually agreed with what she sent out, and wanted to thank her for that. And I never really looked into it, but I didn't realize that I wasn't in agreement with the National School Lunch Program. So thank you for sending that out and doing that for us. I'm not a big proponent of having kids drink milk every day. A little bit okay, but not every day at lunch. As well as making organic foods and other things available for children. So thank you for that. A couple other things. I was at the Board of Health meeting last night. So I was asking them, having a discussion around their interaction with the Board of Education and with the superintendent. And Karen was there as well, and she was kind enough to let us all know that the superintendent, I guess, had approached the Board of Health maybe once or maybe more times.
Can you speak up a little louder? And
yeah, so Karen, sure. So Karen had told us that the superintendent had approached the Board of Health, maybe on one or more times, right? About many times. Unfortunately, when I was there, they didn't really acknowledge that fact. I'm not saying you didn't do it, because I'm sure you did, but it didn't seem like their engagement level was that high. And I just so happened to be reading through the state's, the Road Forward plan, and they do encourage, it sounds like an extremely close partnership between the Board of Health, and the local municipalities and the Board of Education and the schools, right? So I would like to encourage that you facilitate that and maybe present to them what you're doing in the schools. I specifically was asking them if they had given guidance on using the shields, the plastic shields on the lunch tables in Lazar, as well as I believe I heard that some of the pre-K classes are maybe using shields in their classrooms. So I read the plan from the state, and I didn't see it outlined in there as guidance, even though anything in their document is not mandatory, right? It's all guidance. So I didn't see it listed there. I pulled out a copy of the draft safe return plan from Montville. I just kind of skimmed it in the back. I didn't notice it in there. So I'm wondering, why we're using plastic shields in those situations when I don't see it recommended in any of those state documents, and maybe there's a document I didn't see. So if you could address that either now or at some point. And the reason I bring it up is my daughter's, she looked forward to going back to school. So we kept her back. We didn't want her to mask last year. And so we ended up sending her back because she really wanted to go. I didn't want to send her. I came up here and told you I was going to keep her back, wasn't going to let her go. Well, she trumped me. That's what happens, right? So she went back, but she's so disappointed because she goes to lunch and that's their social time, right? And she can't even talk to the kids at her table because she can't hear them through the plastic, right? She basically has to stick her head around the side and whisper in somebody's ear if she wants to talk to them, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a shield there, right? So I think we should reassess the shields, where the mandate came from for that, a recommendation, and talk to the Board of Health about it. There's some other items that I think we should engage with the Board of Health about, or at least you should. One is the idea of, when it comes to teachers, and requiring that they all, only the unvaccinated need to test, as well as quarantine, right? We know, and I saw a lot of nods on the Board of Health last night, they all know that vaccinated people can transmit the disease. We can argue whether it's somewhere between 0 and 97% asymptomatic transmission if you're vaccinated, right? I'll go with 50, right? So let's say 50% of all the teachers in that school can still transmit asymptomatically, right? If you go and look at average, materials out there. And we're not testing any of them. We're not requiring they get tested weekly, and if there's a positive case, we're not requiring they go get tested, right? There's even now guidance, health guidance coming out from the CDC that people should voluntarily, if they're vaccinated, go get tested. So I think we should talk to the health department and assess, from a testing perspective and a quarantine perspective, should we be going above and beyond what the state is issuing as guidance, and actually recommending that all teachers, all staff, not just that unvaccinated, get tested and quarantined for exposure. That's all I had tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the public's information, we are following the mandates about teachers being vaccinated or testing. I believe the date that they have up to is October 18th. They must show evidence at that time. Okay, anyone else? Well, you must be sweating in there tonight, huh?
Sweaty hands on a shared microphone.
Can you hold it close? Hold it close, yeah.
Dr.
Pete Walsh, Towaco. I didn't go to the last Board of Health meeting last night because I was chasing my 7-year-old on a soccer field with 20 other kids. And then I went to my other son's lacrosse practice with 30 kids, some from Montville, some from Mount Olive. It was crazy, so I couldn't get to the meeting. But the last meeting I went to, the new health director, I can't remember his name.
Hodges.
With that? Hodges, thank you so much. He handed me the executive order, 251, and he gave me a highlighted copy. And I didn't see, and I discussed with him, I didn't see anywhere where we needed to get permission from the school physician for mask exemption. So if that Board of Health, Department of Health, does not see where in the executive order we need to get permission from a school physician that does not examine our kids if they have a medically diagnosed medical exemption, I'm not exactly sure how the board attorney, admittedly, interprets on his own, or as the board's own, the interpretation of that we need that. That is a separate thing, correct?
I'll address your question. Mr. Edelson, can you give us a brief response to that? Because I don't want to take this gentleman's time up. Dr. Wilson?
Sure. The nearly universal interpretation among school board lawyers and school districts of Executive Order 251 and the comments that have come out of both Trenton and the Department of Ed about 251 strongly suggest that the doctor's note be reviewed by the school physician. That's what virtually every draft policy that's submitted to school districts from the 2 or 3 companies around the state that prepare policies say, and I think that there are good sound policy reasons for that. So that is not just my advice, it's the advice of most school lawyers, and I stand by it.
So again, lawyers and politicians are making health choices for the district. Is that my understanding then, from your interpretation?
Well, we have the governor who's a politician making decisions too.
Well, my point is,
upon
the
their
board,
reputation.
the Board of Health,
Yeah.
during a health crisis.
We're operating under the premises in our road back, is it, it's in our road back booklet, and we require the physician, if the parents have a physician that says Johnny can't come back, our doctor just reviews it. That's all. It's not a big deal.
Okay. How many medical exemptions have she granted?
I don't have that information.
You don't have that information?
Get it. We're on day 4 of the school year, and some of those are still being processed.
So how many so far?
I
The executive order came out.
I do not have that information with me.
The executive order came out with the exemption possibility
We
a
don't
month
have that
ago.
information with us tonight.
Nobody knows anything about how many have been submitted and how many have been
We're
reviewed.
not the administration. We're the funded. These administrators indicated they don't have the comment. On October 18th, we'll have information regarding the vaccinations. In the meantime, I'm sure they'll be updating. Remember, we've only been open for 3-4 days.
This is true.
Okay? So I think that once they have that information, we'll make the board aware and we'll make the public aware.
The October 18th has nothing to do with the kids masking from medical
Sorry?
exemption. The October 18th deadline for teachers has nothing to do with
No, I know.
the children
That's, I
getting.
threw that in to make sure the other people were aware. October 18th is for teacher vaccinations. And once we find out how many kids are requesting it, we'll get that information for administration. But I think usually in the school system, when you open, you got to give it a week or 2 things to calm down. And I'm sure that's in that parameters also. Okay?
So the kids that have been applying, what do they do for the next week or 2 until the school physician gets back to them? They're medically exempt.
We're
I
not
understand your
going
point.
to have a debate about it.
No, I know.
Your point is, we will get that information, share that information with the board.
My point is because a lot of people have already been denied, from what I've been told.
Okay. So then they have to wear the mask
the pediatric neurologist gives a diagnosis, and then the school physician who does not examine that child then denies that, is there a remedy or an arbitrator that could go between the person who has been treating that child and has a diagnosis against someone who just blanketly says no, even though they didn't examine that child?
I don't know the process, I'm not the administrator, okay?
We have to be governed, any school district has a tremendous amount of liability. I'm not a medical professional, I have to rely upon the medical professionals that the board has hired to make this determination.
Right, but it's your policy. You admitted that you put the policy in. It's not the executive order. So if Montville put that executive order, I mean, that part of that in yourselves, I'm asking what the policy is from an arbitrator standpoint if there's a disagreement between two health professionals. Is there something in place since you came up with this idea that you have to get a review from a physician?
As far as I know, there is no process of appeal.
Okay, so since you came up with the policy, can you work on an appeal process?
She just answered that, okay?
I'm sorry?
I think she just answered that.
Oh, she did.
Yes, she did. There's no appeal.
Right, so I said, since you came up with the policy, since you're making it up on the fly, as we've said, right?
We're not making up.
No.
As Mr. Edelstein indicated, this is the legal advice that school districts have been provided, and we are following that legal advice, because if it's challenged, I'm also not a lawyer. So I'm not able to defend a challenge to the board's policy. That's why we have legal counsel.
Came up with the policy.
You're not answering the question.
So I want to repeat it one more time. Sorry, the mask is buffering my question.
Mr. Walsh, Dr. Walsh, unfortunately, you're way over your 5 minutes, so.
20 seconds. Okay? Okay. Thank you so much. You're quite welcome.
All right, if there are no other questions.
My name is Melissa Consorso.
I don't know.
Yeah, just speak loudly.
My name is Melissa Consorso, and I live in Tuaco. I just have a few questions regarding, as far as like the plan to eat in lunchrooms, when will that be reevaluated this year? As far as the plexis, when will that be reevaluated to remove them from desks? And also volunteers in schools right now, they're not allowed. Will that be something that will be discussed? Do you have a date when they will be reevaluated? And one other thing, as far as gym classes go, I thought this year when they would be able to actually go outside on nice days, so they have a mask break. My son had gym in class today, in the gym, and they had to wear their mask for like 40 minutes. Why on a nice day wouldn't they be outside having gym? Is that something that will be brought up?
I would address that question to your school principal.
I think you might want to contact the principal of the building and ask him why for her.
Okay, he's not going to probably answer the question.
Well, he's the principal, he's running the building.
Isn't there a liaison there?
Okay,
Because I know other schools around, okay?
okay. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see anyone else. Thank you very much for coming. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So
Second. And before we adjourn, I would like to thank everyone in the audience tonight for their professionalism and for the decorum. And I'm glad that we're back to the way Montville is, not the way it was occurred at the last meeting. Thank you so much.